What's going on, guys? It's Salvajee. We're back with another Overwatch video. The Symmetra Rework details have finally emerged. Okay, we got some information a couple of days back that she has been moved forward to the defense category. Jeff Goodman also said that they moved her over as a healer for a bit, and they tried to do healing with her turrets, but of course that's extremely awkward, and obviously that's something that Symmetra shouldn't fucking do. Okay, listen, as you guys know, I used to play a lot of Symmetra on console. I mean, I still play her on PC from time to time, and every time I pick her up, I just carry the fucking team with 3 gold medals. Look, what I'm trying to say is I actually know what I'm talking about when it comes down to Symmetra, unlike these other clown YouTubers out there that have zero idea what they're talking about when it comes down to Symmetra. So with that said, we're going to talk about the changes first, and then of course I'm going to give you guys my opinion on these changes and all that good stuff. Okay, so I want to give a huge shout out to this guy Flanking Zen. He basically summarized everything that Jeff Goodman said. Keep in mind, everything that I point out from the Symmetra Rework comes from Jeff Goodman from the Overwatch team. Again, I'm going to talk about the news. I'm going to share the news with you guys. Then I'm going to tell you guys what I think. And I'm basically doing this because I know there's some people that only give a shit about the news and they don't really care what I think, okay? So I don't want to like waste your time. Okay, Symmetra Sentry turret changes. Instead of having 6 turrets now, she has 3. The turrets can be deployed basically like a baseball. So you throw it into a wall and then it sticks into the wall and then it deploys. The turret has 30 HP instead of 1 HP. And of course, the turret has increased damage and slow potential. Because by the way, like there's people that they don't really know that Symmetra's turret actually slows you down. That's how bad the slow potential per Symmetra turret is at the moment, okay? So basically, Jeff Goodman said that the turrets are much more powerful this way. And of course, I was in the Overwatch forums earlier to sort of see how the community is reacting to this and how Jeff Goodman is going about, you know, replying to some of these concerns that the community has. One Symmetra main was complaining that, you know, this is basically going to take away the aspect that Symmetra has of basically, wait up, let me get comfortable in my chair, guys. Okay, so basically this is going to take away, you know, the aspect that Symmetra has of constantly placing turrets. And Jeff Goodman basically said, we don't want Symmetra to constantly be placing turrets because that's basically time that she's wasting when it comes down to, you know, helping the team in a team fight. That's why they gave her 3 turrets, and that's why, what's this thing called? They do more damage and they have more slow potential. I'm really happy about this, and of course I am going to talk about this when I share my thoughts with you guys, okay? Primary fire changes. So it's basically now a Zarya beam. It has increased range and it's of course fairly thick. It gains damage over time, but instead of being 30, 60 to 120 DPS, it's currently 65, 130, and 195 damage per second, okay? It takes 2 seconds now for the damage to level up, instead of course, the 1 second that it previously had, okay? When hitting a barrier, it also generates ammo instead of consuming it, and hitting barriers still increases the weapon charge. Again, I'm going to talk about these changes and my thoughts, you know, after I cover all the news for the people that are of course only interested in the news. Let's talk about the alternate fire. So basically her orb fully charges in 1 second now instead of 2 seconds. Her projectile speed has been increased, so basically the orb moves 30 meters in 1 second instead of the 10 meters in 1 second, like Jeff Goodman said in his post. And basically Jeff Goodman said that instead of piercing enemies, it now impacts enemies and environments, and the ball explodes, dealing area of damage around it. And they say that of course they have been testing with how much damage the ball does, because basically a direct shot has been hovering around 130 damage, and a large percent of the damage is coming from direct impact instead of the explosion. And of course I am going to talk about the alternate fire in much detail because this is actually really big, okay? Alright, so the teleporter is basically an E ability anymore. So instead of having her photon barrier, I believe, on the E ability, she basically just has the teleporter there. And you can basically place the teleporter 25 meters away or like right in front of you. If you place the teleporter, you know, you basically place the exit of the teleporter first. And then of course, this means that the entrance of the teleporter is going to be right in front of you. They also said that they're experimenting with the teleporter. So basically like that you can like, you know, teleport Diva's exploding mech, Junkrat tires, Hanzo ultimates, and all that stuff. Yeah, I'll talk about that later. Again, I just want to share the news first. They also said that this basically allows players that can't get to the high ground to have easier high ground access, which of course can be very meta defining because as you guys know, the high ground is very important in Overwatch. And then of course her health has been lowered. The health of the teleporter has been lowered to 300, and the entrance and the exit can be attacked. Okay, so now let's talk about her ultimate, which is a photon barrier. Basically, it's like the walls of Ba Sing Se. Okay, that's basically what it is. It's the walls of Ba Sing Se. So basically, she can place the a huge gigantic photon barrier. Okay, like a May wall, and then it says it's fucking. Okay, let me just read this, because this is like really hard to explain unless you read it. Cast and function similarly to a May wall. Instead of placing and moving a barrier, she places a static barrier. So she places like an actual photon barrier that's like standing still, that's effectively infinite in size and has 5,000 health. Dude, what do you mean infinite in size? Like, it's going to be like from one area of the map to like the other? Will it go through walls? Be more specific, please. Anyways, the barrier has 5,000 health. And Jeff Goodman has said it's actually been super interesting in playtest. There are a lot of different ways to use it, and exactly where to place it, it's super important. This is actually very good. I mean, what's the thing called? Very accurate. Okay, now let's talk about like the changes and basically what I think. I'm going to start out with the turrets, okay? If you're a good Symmetra player and you're not a garbage tier Symmetra main, you know that her turrets are basically garbage, okay? And if you're smart, you're constantly going to be changing the placement of your turrets over and over again. Okay, this is what makes Symmetra very effective, and what makes her work are of course the higher ranks like high platinum, diamond, all of that good stuff. Okay, it's a really important thing to always be very mobile with your turrets, and to always be sort of like changing the direction of the turrets, because if you don't do that, well, you're not really going to be as effective with the turrets, specifically if you're playing against smarter players that can basically counter your turrets. Okay, the fact that she has 3 turrets now, it's also really good, because again, it's basically saving me less time when it comes down to just constantly be placing all my 6 turrets, okay? Like, if you want to get the best out of Symmetra at the moment, you have to have all 6 turrets into play. Now that she has 3 turrets and they do increase damage and they do increase low potential, it's basically going to give Symmetra more flexibility, and it's going to give her more time in the team fight, which is what Symmetra lacks sometimes. You know, sometimes Symmetra is just spending too much time putting up a teleporter or a shield generator or some turrets, okay? So again, this is a change that I welcome with open arms, and I definitely hope that the turrets stay as they are at the moment. You know, basically just being 3 turrets that do increased damage, and of course, the increased low potential is going to be a big deal, okay? Because of that, it can basically stop enemies in choke points, and it can basically make it easier for example, a Widowmaker in your team to, of course, take out the person that has been slowing down, all of that good stuff. Now let's talk about her primary fire. So it's basically a Zarya beam, and it takes 2 seconds for the thingy to ramp up. So basically this means that Symmetra is going to have a sort of like a less easier time when it comes down to dealing with tanks, and now Symmetra is going to require some tracking, since people always say that Symmetra is a no aim type hero. Keep in mind, guys, if you are smarter than your enemy, you don't need to have good aim. That's something people always seem to forget. Like, they think it's all about aim, but Overwatch is more of a strategic type game, okay? Anyways, the point is, I want to talk about the third thing that Jeff Goodman pointed out about the primary fire. So when you're hitting a shield, her weapon is charging up and it's generating ammo. So she basically has she basically has infinite ammo when she's charging up a Ryan barrier. When she melts the Ryan barrier, she can basically just melt the Ryan heart within like seconds. Okay, that's basically what Jeff Goodman said. I don't really know if this might make it to the live servers. I really don't, because I think this is very powerful. Yes, it is going to make her more viable, I guess you could say, when it comes down to tanks, and that's what this rework is trying to do. You know, they're trying to make Symmetra an actually very useful hero, a meta-defining hero, a meta-impacting hero, okay? So, I don't really know what to tell you guys. You know, I actually have to test out these primary fire changes, but I do like them. I do like them more than the actual regular, you know, barrier that she has. Okay, so now let's talk about the alternate fire, because this is something that has me really excited. If you are a really good Symmetra player, you know that you want to use the alternate fire very aggressively, usually within the short range. That's usually where I used my my alternate fire, and of course within the medium ranges, because if you use it within short to medium range, you're basically almost guaranteed to get a shot with, of course, that primary fire. So, I mean, with the alternate fire. So I'm definitely going to see where the alternate fire basically ends up. I think if it does 130 damage and it takes like 1 second to get charged up and it has increased movement speed, I think that's like really OP, which, you know, maybe that's the way that they're trying to go. Again, they're trying to make Symmetra an Overwatch League type hero, like a hero that gets play in the Overwatch League, because she currently has gotten no play in the Overwatch League. You might think the same for Torbjorn, but the other day, Jake from Houston Outlaws pulled out a fucking Torbjorn, and guess what? They made it work. It's crazy, okay? But anyways, the alternate fire, I don't really think the 130 damage with the explosive damage is going to make it to the live servers. I just think that's just way too good, and, you know, they want to make Symmetra good, but they don't want to make Symmetra overpowered. The teleporter changes, I don't really have much to say about that other than, you know, it's a very, very useful change. I can put my Orisa on the high ground, whereas I couldn't before. It's basically going to give the team more mobility, okay? And it's going to basically make Symmetra sort of like more useful. Listen, guys, let's say that there are people, there's one person at the point, okay? And you're basically heading back towards the point in Hanamura. Okay, you are able to place your teleporter from 25 meters away. So you can place the teleporter from 25 meters away when you're like 25 meters away from the point in Hanamura. And then your teammates that are going behind you, they can basically just teleport and basically be on the point. Again, it just gives more mobility to your team, which is of course very, very good, specifically now that the dive meta is sort of going to sort of slow down a bit since Bridge is coming into the meta. And I also predict that Doomfist, McCree, Reaper, you know, those are also some heroes that we might see in the meta. Now let's talk about her the walls of Bossing Say. If you're an Avatar fan, you know, shout out to you. But yeah, I don't really know if this thing is gonna make it to live. Like the way that Jeff Goodman talked about this, like he kind of talked as if they are sure about this, but they're also thinking how ridiculous it is. If you have a McCree and a Genji, it's like really, really hard to break a Reinhardt barrier. And a Reinhardt barrier has 2,000 health. So imagine a barrier with 5,000 health. Okay, that's going to be pretty insane. However, this does seem like a pretty cool ultimate ability. However, I don't really think it's an ultimate ability that can define the game. You know, you do have to play around the 5,000 health barrier. You know, you can put it in a choke and that will be extremely, extremely effective. Okay, and on top of all that, if after they destroy the barrier, you can basically just work towards another barrier. So it's definitely something that might be really threatening. However, I definitely have to see these changes go through for me to tell you guys like an actual 100% solid opinion. As she is right now, as her rework has been described so far, I think she's great. Primary fire is great, alternate fire is great, turret's great, teleporter's great. I don't really know about the alternate fire that much. I think it might need a little bit tweaking for it to be, I guess you could say, balanced. And unless, of course, they want to go the full damage, you know, like damage Symmetra type way, that would also be pretty cool. But yeah, those are basically how I'm seeing the changes. And of course, if you guys want to share your thoughts in the comment sections, let me know. I wanted to make this video again, man, because I know what I'm talking about when it comes down to Symmetra, alright? Unlike these other clowns that they basically just talk a lot of shit when it comes down to Symm. Okay, but that's pretty much it for my video. If you guys enjoyed it, drop it a like. Let me know what are your thoughts in the comment sections below if you're looking forward to the reworked Symmetra. I'm definitely looking forward to it. I mean, I thought she was going to sort of like be a little bit ruined, and she wasn't just going to be as good as she, you know, she was basically going to be worse than what she already is, but basically she is way better than what she already is. And of course, that's something that makes me very, very happy. Anyway, see you guys in the next one. Peace.